All the Twitter fingers who's got deals that we need to make can kind of just shut up a little bit.
After getting into a back and forth with users on X, the Warriors have been a little different.
Moody out of the corner, hits a three, and draws the foul.
No, he was pointing at the official. He almost ghosted him like Steph.
This Golden State Warriors team that we are watching is not the same as what we've been seeing for the past few months. It is official. The Jimmy Butler era in Golden State has begun. Ever since they traded for Jimmy Butler, the Warriors began to advance in a completely new trajectory. You see it in the numbers, you see it in the results, but more importantly, you see it on the court. Now make no mistake, what the Warriors needed was never simply a pen and paper trade, and even though that's what it looks like, there's a lot more to it than simply sticking a superstar like Jimmy next to Steph Curry. More than that, the Warriors have decided that they do not want to lose. This mentality is what they started the season with, something which they lost partway through, but seem to have recovered with the addition of Jimmy. They're playing harder, fighting for loose balls, and making an overall better team effort. One of the questions we didn't ask at the beginning of the season, however, is whether or not that type of effort was sustainable. The players genuinely believed that they had a chance to win back then, but whatever was in the locker room disappeared after that loss to the Brooklyn Nets. That game was pivotal for Golden State, as they never seemed to fully recover, even going so far as to add Dennis Schroeder from the Nets as a starting point guard, but never truly realizing much in terms of gain from his addition. The leadership in the locker room was clearly devastated, and with the team's record, confidence fell. The veterans looked lost, and the young players were starved for direction. In comes one of the league's toughest leaders, one of the most brilliant players currently in the league without question,
on my goddamn table.
to land into the lap of the Warriors. Even if they weren't sure what Butler brought to the table before, after Jimmy took one of the clipboards of the assistant coaches, it was clear what time it was, and the rest of the team truly stepped up. So, what are some of the differences we're seeing? What started this, and is this level of play sustainable for the Golden State Warriors? Keep watching to find out. Before that, however, be sure to like the video and subscribe to Swish Culture for the most analytical and entertaining NBA content on the planet. Now get ready. You're about to get The Warriors have been absolutely locked in for the past 5 games. While we'd love to credit all of it to the signing of Jimmy Butler, there's a bit more to it than that. In my last video, we talked about Steph Curry and how he's been playing over the last 9 games. This is one of the biggest factors in the rest of the team beginning to take things seriously. So, what happened? Back in the middle of January, in the middle of swirling trade rumors, Steph Curry made headlines when both he and Steve Kerr stated that the franchise should not make desperate trades that deplete the future of the franchise at the upcoming deadline. This sparked an entire discourse as to whether or not Steph Curry wanted to actually compete for a championship. This was seen as Steph Curry being passive and trying to ride out the next few seasons with a team that isn't competitive and one where they don't put any pressure on the front office to make moves to help the team win. That was probably a bit shocking to Steph, as he likely meant something else when you think about it. Clearly, Steph believes in the franchise and values the team more so than anyone who was begging to trade away all the team's assets for a chip or bust season. In short, along with being a player, he's a Warriors fan who doesn't want to see the team fall into obscurity even after he leaves. But social media doesn't exactly work in a rational manner, and he had to clarify. So, a few days later, after edging the Minnesota Timberwolves 116
Stop. What do you mean by that?
116 to 115, Steph Curry in a post-game interview made a comment regarding Twitter fingers, referring to users of Elon Musk's X platform.
You made some headlines the other day when you said that you didn't want the Warriors to go out and just be kind of rash, trying to make some improvements for this team as we get closer to the trade deadline. What type of confidence do you think that instilled in the guys to hear you say that, to say, yeah, we still got some dudes and we can go out here and win some games?
Nobody's complacent here. Nobody is okay with just being average. The Twitter fingers who's got deals that we need to make can kind of just shut up a little bit and let us figure this thing out. Like we know we can be competitive.
SportsCenter, in their post-game interview of Curry, asked Steph what his comments about not trading away the young players did for their confidence, and he clearly explains it here, giving you valuable insight into the team's locker room atmosphere. If Steph Curry believes in these young players, then there's no rational reason not to believe in them as well. These comments rekindled the leadership in the locker room by instilling confidence as it became clear the team knew how talented these players were, had no intention of trading them to simply move on from them, and needed them to step up. But what followed was likely even more instrumental in the Warriors becoming a more competitive team. Steph Curry not only talked the talk, he walked the walk as well, embodying the leadership mentality he shared, leading on the scoreboards and not just in the locker room. This was key in the front office trade decision. While a lot of people thought that trading for Jimmy was a bad idea, it wasn't because Jimmy wasn't talented or couldn't help the team, and Steph Curry in his comment clearly emphasized that. But let me reiterate and make it obvious. Trading away Jonathan Kuminga to get Jimmy Butler was not the right move. Trading for Jimmy Butler while keeping Jonathan Kuminga is indeed having your cake and eating it too. This was the holy grail, and I mentioned this in a prior video. If the Warriors were to lose JK in that trade along with Wiggins, this current rendition of Golden State would be as much as we could expect going forward. Could this team as is, let's say without JK, win a championship? It's possible, but it would be a lot more difficult. Without Kuminga, the Warriors become a lot less athletic and play with a much more limited ability to execute certain plays. While JK has some traits of Butler, the two next to each other could unlock something special for this team on top of what they currently have. With two power wings able to attack and score at will and get to the free throw line, this is the type of pressure defenses struggle to keep up with. Then to add to that, having one of the greatest players of all time, the undisputed greatest shooter to have ever played the game, Stephen Curry, casually hanging out at the perimeter, being guarded by one or two players, Golden State will feast. This was the vision, and to see the team execute it and put their franchise point guard in position to win by providing him with this type of personnel support, we already know you can't stop Steph Curry's brilliance. Jimmy Butler made a name for himself with the ability to not just lead a team, but motivate them as well and give them a real chance to win. How do we know this? Not just 2 weeks after joining the team, Jimmy Butler was already displaying the type of leadership that this team needed. You put a player of his caliber, IQ off the charts, next to Curry, offensive game off the charts, Kuminga, athleticism off the charts, Draymond, IQ off the charts, not to mention the elite off-ball movement, lockdown defense that we're getting from all these guys, and yes, this includes Steph Curry. The Warriors are going to be a problem. You're seeing a team that blew out a healthy Sacramento Kings by 20+ points. We're talking about a Kings team that traded for Zach LaVine, another player that many thought would be a good fit on Golden State. The problem with that, however, was the defensive identity that the Warriors wanted to be associated with. You see that with Jimmy and how demoralizing it can be to lock up a team's best offensive player. If your best guy can't score and your mid-range guy is relegated to having to shoot threes to stay afloat, you are in trouble. The last thing about Jimmy Butler, however, is that because he's such a smart player on defense, he easily guards 2 through 5 as shown in this clip where he locks up the POA. The Kings try to run a play for Zach LaVine ISO with him starting off ball initially. However, as soon as he gets possession, Jimmy makes LaVine rethink his decision. How do I beat this guy? The short answer is you don't. You either give the ball up or you take a terrible shot, both of which LaVine ended up doing. This lockdown defense forced the Kings to turn the ball over on a 24-second shot clock violation. This demon next to Draymond Green? But that's enough about these guys. What about the young players that we see stepping up? Pods and Moody elevated and were played in the starting lineup ahead of Buddy Hield. Moody has started 8 games this season for the Warriors and they've won every single time. His 22-point outburst against the Kings shows the growth he's had and the increased confidence stemming from the newfound leadership in the locker room. Numbers-wise, he's putting up 15 points, 4 rebounds, 1.5 assists, and 1.5 steals, while shooting 36% from 3 and 51% from the field in 31 minutes. He's playing as aggressive as he's ever been, and with this particular lineup of Curry, Pods, Butler, and Draymond, there's enough facilitating on the floor to allow Moody to be who he is, a slashing finisher and knockdown shooter. He has that Klay Thompson mentality to finish the play, so in that lineup, he's going to be set up with great plays as long as he can follow through, something he's shown he's more than capable of doing. With a 7-foot wingspan, he's able to play much bigger on defense, so that versatility allows him to switch onto bigger players and still hold his own. Pods, on the other hand, seems to have gotten out of his slump. While his three-point shooting remains in flux, he's still putting up 14 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists in 31 minutes over his last 5 games while hitting key shots. With Jimmy bringing everything I've mentioned, Brandon can continue in a supporting role with much less pressure to carry a scoring load. This will allow him to thrive and play off both Jimmy and Curry. The big question, however, will be how Kerr manages these two players, Moody and Pods, when Jonathan Kuminga returns. Who will be in the starting lineup and who will have the most impact down the stretch? The last question, however, is this. Will they be able to maintain this level of play for the rest of the season to make the playoffs? Last season, the Warriors went 16-9 in their last 25 games. They did not have Jimmy Butler, and outside of the Timberwolves, the Warriors also have the easiest remaining schedule. The prior year wasn't bad either, where they went 15-10, and the year before that, they won the championship. With Kuminga's return, it's not infeasible that they go 21-5. In short, yes, this is very sustainable for the home stretch. A 50-win Warriors team with Butler and Curry both ready to carry the team is not something an opponent wants to see in the playoffs. But don't let my word be the last on it. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Just be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on all your notifications so you don't miss any of my latest uploads. Thanks for watching. Till next time, swish!